production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the schedules are set to work on the Farm Bill, but the Egg Bill probably will not be a part of it.
We'll have the highlights and the winners from the Mississippi Land Judging Contest at Flora.
In southern gardening, it's hot in the south in the summer. Why not take advantage of it and plant some tropical plants?
In the markets, the USDA reveals its yield forecast for corn and other crops, while U.S. milk production is down a little bit.
In the feature segment, helping farmers adopt to conservation practices that pay and benefit the environment as well. Mississippi State University's R.E.A.H program is helping farmers to implement these practices and using them to tell others why they should consider adopting them.
So all the nutrients are getting pulled from it, the sediment's being pulled from it, and so the water that's leaving the system is much cleaner than when it arrived. So just with this little structure, we now have a significant water quality improvement to water that's coming off the ag system.
And have them where you can drive from one field to the next.
Good day, everyone. I'm Amy Taylor.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Welcome to Farm Week.
The U.S. Senate will start next Tuesday to mark up its version of the Farm Bill, which should have been passed last year.
Amy Senate Ag Committee Chairman Debbie Stabenow announced her committee will begin work next week, but her plans to include the so-called Egg Bill have been derailed. Stabenow is a co-sponsor of the Egg Bill, and she told supporters that she wanted to include it in the new Farm Bill. Livestock organizations and other senators quickly made their views known. Stabenow has telegraphed the Egg Bill would not be part of the Farm Bill. The Egg Bill is supported by the Humane Society of the United States and most of the nation's egg producers. It would call for the gradual replacement of so-called battery cages with what are called enriched cages. Enriched cages have twice the area per hen and come with separate areas for laying, roosting, and scratching. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association said it's concerned the Egg Bill sets the precedent of the Congress mandating a production practice to everyone in the livestock industry and all of production agriculture.
Land judging. The title doesn't inspire excitement, but like many experiences, it's more interesting when you actually participate. The state land judging contest for Mississippi was held in March. Farm Week's Jonathan Parrish reports.
Future Farmers of America teams and 4-H groups from around the state came to Flora, Mississippi for the 2013 land judging competition. This educational event gave young people the opportunity to learn about soil production and conservation and use their skills to identify the versatility of the land. FFA and 4-H teams were asked to judge 3 sites. The students' job was to determine what was the best use for each site, such as farming, pasture, or home construction. Dr. Larry Oldham, an Extension Soil Sciences professor, says a lot of thought was put into picking a site for the land judging contest, and the event turned out to be a great one.
This site was an outstanding pick by the folks who did that because it's a diversity of soils. It's an outstanding location logistically. We're located just outside Flora, Mississippi. The people here have been very good to work with in facilitating this contest, and it's been a great experience with the contest here this year.
The event was held at the Monsanto Company and was conducted by the Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District. Joe Addy says the students got first-hand experience in the basic principles of soil and water conservation.
Kids are learning those basic principles of soil science. And then on the other side of the contest is the treatment of the land once the science is determined at that highest land use.
Students who took part in the event learned valuable skills that could be applied in career fields such as environmental and agricultural management, natural resource conservation, or home building. Although not all the students will pursue a career in these fields, most agree that the principles learned at the land judging contest can be applied later in life.
Well, I think it'll help me out later in life. I don't want to pursue it as a career, but I mean, it's always good to know, well, if this piece of land that you have, what it's good for, if you can put a house on it, if you need to put cattle on it, if you need to use it with row crops, it's always a good thing to know what you can use it for.
Top awards for the day went to Manatee and Itawamba County from FFA, and the 4-H overall champion was Tate County. These teams will now advance to the National Land Judging Competition in Oklahoma. From Flora, Mississippi, I'm Jonathan Parrish reporting.
The National Land Judging Competition took place in early May in Oklahoma. Unfortunately, the Mississippi 4-H and FFA teams did not win, but there were extenuating circumstances. There was record cold weather, it was raining, and the wind chill dropped below 20 degrees. When your hands are wet and numb, it's hard to judge soil properly. If you're interested in 4-H land judging, contact your county office of the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Want some big, bright colors in your garden? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us some tropical plants which absolutely love our hot and humid southern summer weather.
Once the chances of frost have passed, some of the easiest plants to grow for summer color have to be tropical flowering plants. For summer color, it's hard to beat tropical plants. They simply love our hot and humid Mississippi gardens and landscapes. Almost every garden enthusiast I know loves tropical hibiscus. In my opinion, you can't go wrong choosing any of the Cajun hibiscus series. There are more than 30 selections, ranging in color from yellows, reds, and white. The more spectacular are blended colors having bright red eyes. One of the more interesting features, especially to a plant geek like me, is the arrangement of the pistil and stamens. The pistil is the center structure surrounded by the swirl of stamens resembling a yellow bottle brush. Another popular choice for tropical color plants are Mandevilla and Dipladenia, which are very similar in foliage and flower appearance. Mandevilla will grow as a vine and frequently is trained on a support structure ready to scramble on a larger scale. Dipladenia will grow with a more shrub-like bushy habit. A prolific flowering vine every gardener should grow is black-eyed Susan vine. This is a great climbing vine that will readily scamper 8 feet up a trellis. Remember, these are tropical plants and will need some protection from any late cold snaps. Most are right at home in a pretty container on the porch or patio. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says some tropicals, like elephant ears, don't have bright colors, but their green color adds lushness to the landscape. In the feature segment today, find out about Mississippi farms who use conservation techniques that make them money. The program is called R.E.A.H. And time now for the markets with Layton. The USDA released their forecast of the 2013 crop on Friday.
That's right, Amy, and obviously with the type of spring that much of the country is having, including Mississippi at times, there were some big questions to be answered by the new numbers. In the markets this week, expectations for U.S. corn yields had been mixed ahead of the new report. The cattle market waits for cheaper feed as a couple of forestry products companies in the state announce expansions. At midday on Friday, May 10th, the government released its monthly supply and demand update for all U.S. crops. Analysts on average expected old crop ending stocks for corn, soybeans, and wheat to be just about unchanged on the month and down on the year. Now, the real news out of the May report is that it provides the USDA's first official yield expectations for each crop for the year 2013. Extension Ag economist Dr. John Michael Riley answered some questions about the new report and the yield forecast for corn and soybeans. John Michael, we're recording a little bit ahead of the May 10th new USDA numbers. What are we expecting maybe that report to reflect right now?
Well, I think everybody's looking at the weather maps and realizing that the corn, soybean, really all the spring planting is way behind. That's been known for a while, that's been playing into the market. We've seen quite a weather premium placed in the market since the grain stocks report that pushed prices so much lower. But I think that's really the expectation as we move forward is what is USDA going to show for yield for both corn and soybeans due to the fact that we are so far behind.
But no doubt there will be a change maybe from what we saw a month ago.
Well, this is going to be the first yield expectations that we get for the upcoming growing season, and so everybody's on the edge of their seats. If you look at, of course, it's still very early in terms of expectations that are being put forth in the general public, but yield expectations from market analysts are really all over the board for corn, which is not unexpected. That's one where we do get a lot of variety. Soybeans, it's a little bit not quite as wide, but you know, trend yield would put it somewhere in the neighborhood of 156. I've done some just simple regressions, and I'm getting that same number. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 43 for soybeans is what could be expected. But again, it depends on how USDA factors in this slow planting.
Any kind of recommendations or thoughts? How do you think about marketing corn in this scenario? Any recommendations for producers?
Well, by the time this is released, it's obviously going to be the report is released. But the biggest thing is just to stay out of the market on days like when big USDA reports are released, because so much can happen in that day's trading. So the biggest thing, stay away from the market, but always, if you can pencil in any type of profit, I think that you want to go ahead and try to at least book some of your crop, whether it be corn, beans, cotton, anything out there. If you can pencil in some profit in today's market, you need to do that.
On a bigger, looking beyond Mississippi a little bit, are we expecting maybe more soybeans nationwide, planted acreage, people leaving corn and wheat due to problems with weather?
You look back, everybody's looking at 1984 when we had similar weather conditions, and planting intentions changed by 2 million acres. So I think people are saying maybe we lose that many acres, but corn acres are so high the market can handle that.
It takes dependable tractors for planting and other farm operations, and a recently released study indicates world demand for tractors is expected to increase almost 7% per year in the short term. China alone is expected to take about 31% of the global sales total. Agricultural tractors continue to account for the largest share of equipment sales, according to the publication World Tractors. Speaking of the world, our trivia quiz this week deals with the topic of world commodities. The most heavily traded commodity in the world is crude oil. Our question, what is the second most heavily traded commodity in the world? Is the answer A, cotton, or B, coffee, or C, sugar, or D, pork bellies? You'll find out our answer before the feature story this week.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second part of the markets. Leighton Span will report on feeder cattle prices and increases in lumber jobs. In the feature segment today, a lot of times conservation projects are seen as experiments that don't necessarily work on commercial farms. Mississippi State's R.E.A.H program is changing that.
From our family to yours, Mississippi's farmers believe the best produce and livestock are grown right here at home. With ms.foodsearcher.com, you're only a click away. Using your smartphone, you'll be connected to hundreds of families and small businesses dedicated to providing you with fresh, local foods. Produce, meats, fish, dairy, agritourism, community markets, and more are right at your fingertips, no matter where you are. ms.foodsearcher.com.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Mississippi-Louisiana Beef and Forage Field Day is Saturday, May 18th. The location is the Livestock Producers Sale Barn on Highway 98 east of Tylertown, Mississippi. Registration gets underway at 8:45 a.m. The agenda includes an herbicide effectiveness tour and using alternative feed ingredients. Lunch will be served, so you are asked to pre-register. A workshop for landowners on using GPS to improve their property takes place Friday, May 24th. The location is the Tate County office of the Mississippi State University Extension Service in Senatobia. Registration is $20 and you need to register by Friday, May 17th. GPS units will be provided or you can bring your own. Please dress to be outdoors. Find out how to measure field size, food plot size, and other GPS tools. We'll have the telephone number on our Farm Week website calendar. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now let's check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We begin on the livestock side of the markets now with feeder cattle. The perception of grains going lower is providing some support here. Trader Tom Fitzenmeyer says this market has been depressed fairly well.
The numbers are going to dictate that there's probably a fairly good support somewhere down in current levels or maybe a little under. And then if we get cheaper corn and we can get some strength in the fat market, there's probably an upward draft to that market, although I wouldn't get wildly bullish on it for a while, I guess.
Dairy producers, like everyone else in the livestock sector, have also been battling feed costs. Meanwhile, Ag Market News says this week that retail sales for one particular dairy product, cheese, are, quote, uncertain right now. Analyst Naomi Bloom tells Market to Market that milk output may be changing some here.
The production in the U.S. has been down just a little bit for milk. And so depending on nutrition, that may continue. The other factor with it is that the cheddar price has been actually up a little bit, but that's more reflective of what's happening in New Zealand. The drought in New Zealand is continuing, and it is really bad. And those animals are grass-fed. They're grazing animals, and so they do not have food. So that market for milk and cheese has just skyrocketed higher, and so we've actually seen a little bit of demand come to the United States, and we're exporting out. But at the same time, we just don't have a reason for the market to just go higher than 20, yet at the same time, $19 seems to be a well-supported area.
Some new jobs related to the lumber industry are coming to North Mississippi. Shamrock Plank Flooring of Horn Lake, a division of J.T. Shannon Lumber, says it will be starting a new $1 million operation soon in nearby Hernando. This will mean 25 new jobs involved in producing high-end hardwood flooring. Meanwhile, Fly Timber says that it is expanding its operations in Grenada. The 32-year-old company is making a $6 million investment to enable it to begin cutting railroad cross ties for shipment to a nearby treatment facility. Officials say that this expansion will create 30 new jobs. Well, before our feature story, let's look at the trivia answer for this week. And the correct choice is B, coffee. Again, the most heavily traded world commodity is crude oil, followed by coffee. Farmers have made great strides over the years in their efforts to take better care of the environment. However, skepticism on the part of the public and the government about how good a job agriculture is doing with this seems to persist. That's where a new program spearheaded by Mississippi State University and known by the acronym R.E.A.C.H comes in. It is providing farmers with increased expertise and accountability when it comes to all issues involving conservation and wildlife habitat. The early participants are very excited about MSU reaching out to help them change perceptions about agriculture. This story first aired in December. The conservation of water resources used in connection with agriculture is becoming more important in Mississippi, especially in the Delta. That's one reason why Belzona farmer Jeremy Jack is working with MSU Assistant Professor Robbie Kroger through a program known by the acronym R.E.A.C.H, Research and Education to Advance Conservation and Habitat. The program focuses on developing and improving conservation practices that work for agriculture and are environmentally sustainable. Jeremy enrolled this 750-acre portion of the Silent Shade Plantation in the R.E.A.C.H program. The presence of the dirt pan and tractor at the farm headquarters indicates the type of strategies R.E.A.C.H is recommending to improve the property's sustainability.
Yes, moving dirt into reshaping the fields, reshaping ditches to where water flows into a reservoir type system to where we can harvest the water and reuse it again. Therefore, we are not pumping out of using very little groundwater and all surface water and all rainwater, collecting that water during the off season, collecting that water that's run off during the season, so therefore water will never be wasted in any form at all.
The property features several catfish ponds like this that are no longer used in aquaculture production. The ponds figure prominently in the recommendations being implemented through the R.E.A.H program.
But once we get finished with this property, those catfish ponds will be brought together, levees knocked down, and a large storage reservoir will be behind me. We're going to have several of these storage reservoirs on this property such that you can capture the water from a rainfall event, move that water with a relift station into these storage reservoirs, and then use it to irrigate his rice and his soybeans or whatever he's growing for that year.
Besides the emphasis on reusing surface water, the strategies of the R.E.A.H program also focus on controlling surface drainage on Mississippi farmland. Among the techniques being put into place on farms to accomplish this are low-grade weirs or small dams like this one in Sunflower County near Indianola that slow down runoff water. The design of this concrete structure was funded through the Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant. Robbie Kroger says a weir like this can improve the quality of the water before it goes downstream, thereby improving the condition of other streams and lakes and even the Gulf of Mexico.
When you slow down water, obviously the sediment falls out. You get interactions of that sediment with the water column, you get interactions with the water and the vegetation, and all of that is nutrients. All the nutrients are getting pulled from it, the sediment's being pulled from it, and so the water that's leaving the system is much cleaner than when it arrived. So just with this little structure, we now have a significant water quality improvement to water that's coming off the ag system.
The R.E.A.H program is a collaboration between Mississippi State University's Extension Service, the Experiment Station, and Forest and Wildlife Research Center. In the Delta, R.E.A.H is partnering with Delta Farm, an acronym for Farmers Advocating Resource Management. While the R.E.A.H program's central focus is water resource conservation, farmers' other concerns, such as wildlife habitat, are also incorporated. That's how Tunica producer Mike Boyd first got interested in the R.E.A.H program and what Robbie Kroger had to say.
We love to hunt, and we have a guide service, and it all goes hand in hand. We're trying to develop a waterfowl potential over here, and I think we're on the right road to doing that.
On the Boyd operation, about 25 acres spread out over 4 different fields are designated for waterfowl. At the time of our visit in June 2012, rice had just been planted for waterfowl in this field following some landforming. The emphasis on conservation is nothing new on this operation. Mike Boyd had installed a tailwater recovery system on the farm about 2 years prior to his enrollment in the R.E.A.H program. This system allows him to capture and reuse irrigation water.
The beauty about this property is actually they marry surface water capture with waterfowl hunting. And so they've got the beauty between the two, and they've set their system up such that they can move water from their tailwater recovery system that you see behind me to their farm reservoir, back into the tailwater recovery, obviously irrigate their crops with that. But that water could also move into the slough in the winter to flood out for duck hunting. And if need be, that water can move from the slough back into the tailwater recovery and irrigate crops with. So it's a beautiful marriage between, hunting, waterfowl hunting, as well as production agriculture.
We've got this tremendous slough that runs, it's probably 3/4 mile long. It runs right adjacent to this. And we got that round break right there, cypress and all that. It's got it all.
For Mike Boyd's son, Lamar, who's made his 5th crop now, the excitement about the R.E.A.H program goes beyond the professional expertise he and his father now have access to. The R.E.A.H program will provide them scientifically defensible data about their conservation efforts. Lamar sees that as a big benefit.
We would be able to monitor our water usage, see how good of a job we were doing with cost savings, but also with managing our resources. And at the same time, we're able to maybe look and see what we're keeping on site, what we're losing as far as water and nutrients.
Back in Belzona at Silent Shade Plantation, farmer Jeremy Jack also likes the accountability aspect of the R.E.A.H program. He will have data that proves the effectiveness of what they are doing and have a property that will illustrate to visitors the benefits of practicing conservation.
We can educate the public with raw numbers and raw facts and really change the image that agriculture has. And the other thing we also can do is we can have this spot for people to come see and look at and really get feet on the ground to understand what's going on, and then have a spot for researchers to come and try new best management practices and work this through.
The beauty about the R.E.A.H program is the agenda is the farmers. It's addressing a resource need of a farmer. So the farmer comes to us and said, man, I'd love to be a part of the program. What could you do for us? And my answer typically is, well, what do you need us to do for you? And we've got phenomenal expertise all the way through campus.
Producers from all regions of the state and all commodity groups are enrolling portions of their property in the R.E.A.H program. The end result will be a network of cooperative farms illustrating profitable and sustainable production practices that conserve natural resources. I'm Leighton Spann reporting. Go to our Farm Week website if you would like to see this story again on the R.E.A.H program. That website is farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll have all the links and telephone numbers that you can use to get involved and get in touch with Robbie Kroger if you're interested in R.E.A.H. We'll have all of that contact information again at farmweek.msucares.com. And Amy, Robbie Kroger says that there are now over 30 farms and over 100,000 acres enrolled in this stakeholder-driven program, a program again for all commodity groups, not just row crops.
Well, we're at the end of our Farm Week for this week.
It is a well-known commodity in Mississippi.
And Mississippi State University is celebrating the 75th anniversary of Edam cheese production. Find out some of the history and how it's done.
In Southern gardening, do you love container gardens, but you're afraid to try one? Well, Gary Bachman will show us how.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Amy Taylor.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.